Welcome to the debates. Today we are looking at the absolute bleeding edge of the generative video war. We're dissecting a platform that has managed to become both a darling of the prosumer movement and, well, a total pariah on social media in the span of just a single week. We are talking about Higgsfield AI.
Mm-hmm. It really has been a wild week for them.
Yeah, it has, and depending on who you ask in the creative sphere right now, Higgsfield is either the Netflix of AI creation, a revolutionary studio that finally gives directors control over the chaos, or it is a scam rapper facing cancellation rumors for predatory pricing, and frankly what many are calling a hostility toward the very artists it claims to serve.
It is a massive, stark divide. We are pulling from a lot of source material today to get to the bottom of this. We've got the Yara Flasher reviews, the Bad Decisions studio analysis, threads from the entrepreneur subreddit, and of course, the company's own highly controversial marketing. On one side, you have the promise of the Holy Grail, consistent characters, specific camera lenses, and a unified workflow. But on the other side, you have a platform accused of repackaging free or cheap models at a 450% markup.
Right, and that is the central tension we need to unpack today. I am here to argue that, despite the noise, and there is a lot of noise, Higgsfield represents a necessary evolution in creative control by aggregating state-of-the-art models into a usable all-in-one studio.
And I am here to argue that Higgsfield is a cautionary tale of marketing over substance, essentially a deceptive interface charging premium prices for glitchy tools while alienating the artistic community.
Let's jump right into the position statements then. I want to start by framing what Higgsfield actually is because I think the wrapper label that gets thrown around is a bit reductive. We are moving past the era of the slot machine generator.
Are we? Because when I look at the credit usage and the random results, it feels exactly like a slot machine where the house always wins.
Well, let me qualify that. The early days of AI video, which wasn't that long ago, were about typing a prompt, hitting enter, and praying the random number generation gods gave you something usable. Higgsfield is pitching itself as a prosumer studio, and the strongest evidence for this shift is Cinema Studio 2.0. This isn't just a text box anymore. In Cinema Studio, you aren't just typing cinematic shot. You are actually selecting an ARRI Alexa 35 camera body from a drop-down menu. You are pairing it with a Panavision C-Series lens to get those specific blue streak flares, or a Cooke S4 lens if you want warmer, softer skin tones. You are directing.
I have to stop you there, because selecting a lens in a UI is meaningless if the output doesn't respect the laws of physics. You can select an IMAX camera in the menu, but if the underlying model, which we know is often just Kling or Minimax running in the background, if that model hallucinates, that lens selection is just a placebo button. It's a toy steering wheel on a roller coaster.
It is not a placebo. It's about guiding the latent space. By forcing those parameters into the generation, you are constraining the model to a specific aesthetic. And more importantly, it allows for intentionality. When you couple that with tools like Popcorn, which is their AI storyboard engine, you solve the single biggest hurdle in AI video, which is character drift.
See, explain Popcorn to me, because in my testing and based on the reviews we're looking at, it felt like a glorified image-to-image loop that ate credits faster than I could even review the frames.
Popcorn is a workflow breakthrough. It allows a user that upload a reference face, say a specific actor you've created in their Soul ID system, and generate 8 consistent storyboard frames in one go. You can see your character in a coffee shop, then in a rainstorm, then in a heated argument. And they actually look like the same person. Not cousins, not siblings, but the exact same person.
Mm-hmm.
That is the difference between making a cool little GIF and making a narrative film. Standalone models like Sora or even the raw Kling interface struggle to maintain that level of identity coherence across disparate scenes because they don't have that Soul ID anchor.
It sounds like a breakthrough until you actually press Generate on the video tools. You mentioned the Cinema Studio and consistency, but let's look at the independent reviews. We have to talk about the stress tests done by channels like Yara Flasher. When you use those signature camera tools you're defending, features like Orbit or Dolly In, the results are often catastrophic. Yara Flasher described a simple 360-degree orbit shot not as a cinematic moment, but as a tour of facial destruction.
Every generative model hallucinates. That isn't unique to Higgsfield. We are still in the early days of this tech.
But the severity relative to the price is the core issue here. Higgsfield charges a premium for these motion control features. They market them as professional tools. Yet when you try a dolly in, it often looks like a witness protection program glitch where the identity is just scrubbed frame by frame. As the camera moves, the subject's face wobbles, it melts, or it changes ethnicity entirely. It is the physics versus vodka problem. The camera moves like a drunk Steadicam operator, and the subject's geometry collapses. Why would anyone pay a subscription for a tool that breaks the laws of physics every time you try to move the camera?
I think you are focusing on the beta bugs rather than the architecture. The fact that they have a dolly in button that attempts to control the camera path at all is the innovation. In other models, you are begging the prompt to move the camera. Here, you have a dial. Yes, the melted face issue exists, but that is a limitation of the underlying foundation models which Higgsfield is aggregating. They are building the controls for the car while the engine is still being upgraded.
And that brings us perfectly to the wrapper reality. You just admitted they are aggregating models. Higgsfield is largely a UI layer. Their best video features are often just running Kling 2.6 or Minimax in the backend. If I use Kling directly, I might pay pennies per generation. If I use it through Higgsfield, the markup is astronomical, up to 4.5 times the cost. You are paying a convenience tax for a worse result because their camera control layer is actually interfering with the model's native coherence. You're paying extra for a middleman to stand between you and the model and mess up the shot.
Dismissing the wrapper model as inherently deceptive really misses the value proposition. Look at the fragmentation of the current market. If I want the physics handling of Kling, the photorealism of Higgsfield's own Nano Banana Pro, and the high-end cinematic texture of Google's VO 3.1, I currently have to manage 3 or 4 different expensive subscriptions. I am jumping between Discord servers, web apps, API keys. It is a complete mess. Higgsfield creates a unified dashboard. It's the Adobe Creative Cloud approach. You aren't just paying for the model, you are paying for the interoperability.
Interoperability is a very expensive word for what is essentially a credit drain.
I disagree. Look at the specific workflows. You can take a character created in their Soul ID system, generate a storyboard in Popcorn, and then animate those frames using VO 3.1 or Sora 2, all without leaving the tab. Furthermore, they are innovating with features like Dance 2.0, which is coming soon. This is a multimodal engine that accepts up to 12 inputs: images, video, audio, text, to create sequence-level coherence. It is moving away from the one-shot generation toward actual filmmaking. You can feed it the script, the voiceover, the storyboard, and the character sheet, and it synthesizes them.
Coming soon is doing a massive amount of heavy lifting in that sentence. We see this all the time in AI hype cycles. They sell you on the roadmap to justify the current broken product. Let's talk about what is available now and the economics of it. You call it a convenience tax, I call it a trap. The platform uses a credit system that is intentionally opaque based on the bad decisions studio breakdown. A single 4-second clip using the VO model can burn through dozens of credits instantly. And the free credits they give away on Twitter, they expire in 90 hours and they don't stack. It is designed to force spend, not encourage creativity.
High compute models cost money. That is a reality of the server costs. Google charges for VO, Higgsfield has to pass that on to the user.
But the transparency isn't there. And they have these unlimited plans that are anything but unlimited. Users have reported that once you switch to unlimited mode to save your credits, you are placed in a low-priority queue that is effectively eternal. You sit there waiting for a generation that never comes. It forces you to buy more credit packs just to skip the line. That isn't a prosumer studio. That is a pay-to-win mechanic from a mobile game applied to creative software.
Server loads are a bottleneck for everyone right now, including Midjourney and OpenAI. I will concede that the queue times need optimization, but let's look at the quality of the image generation itself. The Nano Banana Pro model, specifically for static images, is genuinely impressive.
Impressive compared to what exactly?
Compared to the current market leaders, it beats Seedream 4.0 for pure photorealism. We are seeing authentic skin textures, true 4K resolution, and a lack of that plastic AI sheen that plagues other models. When you combine that with Soul ID, you have a powerful tool for character creation.
And this actually segues into the influencer studio concept. Higgsfield isn't just for making movies, it's for building new media entities.
Ah, yes, the AI influencer pivot. The last refuge of a platform that can't do narrative video well.
It is a legitimate business model. Higgsfield is attempting to build a new economy with Higgsfield Earn. They're creating a system where creators can monetize their AI influencers and get paid for views. This democratizes content creation. You don't need $1 million budget or a camera crew to create a consistent influencer like Dolly or Veronica who can model products. You can run a whole diverse cast of characters right from your laptop.
That brings us to the soul of the content itself, and frankly, the ethical rot at the center of this company. You mentioned these AI influencers, Dolly, Veronica. To me, and to many critics pointing this out online, this is just flooding the internet with slop. It is hot person number 4 with absolutely no narrative weight.
But there is a market for it. People engage with these characters.
There's a market for junk food too, but we don't call it fine dining. There's a thread on the entrepreneur subreddit that sums this up perfectly. Audiences crave a connection to a human performance. A digital Tom Cruise might look technically impressive in a demo, but if there is no human intent, no actual risk or emotion behind the eyes, it lands straight in the uncanny valley. Higgsfield is betting that we will lower our standards for entertainment, that we will accept a rapper with a melted face as cinema just because it's cheap to produce.
I don't think it's about lowering standards at all. It is about changing the medium. The uncanny valley argument is rapidly becoming outdated. Look at the speed of improvement. We went from Will Smith eating spaghetti to photorealism in 18 months. When you combine Nano Banana Pro with the coming C-Dance 2.0 capabilities, we are seeing that gap close. We are moving toward a world where a solo creator can produce a narrative film with consistent characters. Yes, the camera tools have struggle points right now, but the motion control features allow you to upload a video of yourself acting and apply that motion to your character. That is human performance, just wearing a digital mask.
But that digital mask is often slipping. And the company's attitude towards the people wearing the masks, the artists, is appalling. We cannot ignore the 20 jobs ended controversy.
Yeah, I expected we would get here.
Company posted a tweet explicitly bragging that their new motion design tool ended 20 creative jobs. Not saved time, not empowered artists, but ended jobs. When the backlash hit, they released a video of the staff bowing in apology, which many felt was just as performative and cynical as the original offense. This isn't a company building tools for artists, it's a company building tools to replace them, and they are saying the quiet part out loud just to attract venture capital.
Listen, I will concede that the 20 jobs tweet was a massive unforced error in marketing. It was distasteful and it misread the room completely. However, we have to separate the marketing team's bad judgment from the actual utility of the tool.
Can you separate them, though? The marketing reflects the ethos of the founders. It shows exactly how they view their user base as data to be mined, not partners to be empowered.
I think you can. Adobe has had PR disasters. Unity has had PR disasters. We still use their tools because they work. If Higgsfield empowers a user to do the work of 20 people, that is a double-edged sword, sure, but from a productivity standpoint, it is undeniable leverage. If I can produce a storyboard in 10 minutes with popcorn that used to take me 2 days and cost me a freelancer's fee, that is empowerment for me, the creator. That is the democratization of the creative process.
Democratization is the buzzword they always use to sell automation. But is it democratization if you are paying $50 or $100 a month for a tool that might be completely obsolete in 3 months?
That brings us right back to the economics of it.
Exactly. The speed of AI is so fast. Sora 2, Kling 2.6, Wan 2.1, that locking yourself into an annual prosumer studio wrapper feels financially reckless. You are better off learning the raw tools or using the pay-as-you-go models directly. Higgsfield is trying to be the gatekeeper, but the fence is full of holes, and we have to look at the macro picture here. The context around the Epic Games and Google $800 million partnership shows that big tech is consolidating.
But that consolidation is exactly why an aggregator makes sense.
How so? If Google decides to stop licensing VO or changes the API pricing, Higgsfield's entire business model evaporates overnight. They don't own the brain, they only own the interface. Middleman platforms like Higgsfield are in a very precarious spot. They are squeezing the user for credits today because they know they might not exist tomorrow. They are trying to extract maximum value before the bubble pops or Google shuts off the tap.
I see the risk differently. The Epic and Google deal highlights the importance of accessible tools. But it also suggests a walled garden approach from big tech. If big tech locks everything down, platforms like Higgsfield that aggregate multiple models, open source and closed, become a sanctuary for creators who don't want to be locked into just Google's ecosystem or just OpenAI's ecosystem. They offer Soul ID, which creates a consistent identity across models. That means I can take my character Emma, generate her in Nano Banana, animate her in Kling, and speak through her in VO, all while Higgsfield manages the consistency. That consistency is the holy grail.
Consistency is a very strong claim when we have user reports of facial destruction on simple camera pans. But let's look at the edit video features you mentioned earlier. You said they allow for in-painting and relighting.
Yes, directly in the timeline. You can take a generated video, mask out the background, and change the lighting from soft daylight to hard red neon. You can face swap a character if the model drifted. This is a studio workflow. You cannot do that easily by just hopping between 5 different free Discord servers.
But again, you are paying for a studio workflow that feels like an early beta test. Why would a professional pay a monthly subscription for a tool that behaves like a drunk Steadicam operator? Especially when, as Euroflasher pointed out, you can use Comfy UI or run Kling directly for a fraction of the price and get much better control.
Because Comfy UI is a nightmare for the average creative. It requires a technical literacy, node graphs, latent upscalers, control nets that excludes 90% of storytellers. Higgsfield is selling the interface. And regarding the wrapper critique, critics say they are just using Kling or Minimax, but Higgsfield is doing prompt injection and optimization behind the scenes. They are tuning the inputs so that a user who doesn't know how to write a complex prompt can still get a good result. That is immense value.
That value is diminishing every single day as the base models get smarter. Comfy UI is hard, yes, but there are intermediate tools emerging that don't charge a 450% markup. Higgsfield recently raised an $80 million extension. They are under immense pressure to show growth to their VCs. That explains the unlimited plans that aren't unlimited. It explains the credit drain. It explains the aggressive rage bait marketing about firing artists. They're trying to lock users into annual plans before the users realize that the underlying tech is available cheaper elsewhere.
Or they are using that capital to build Seedens 2.0 and proprietary models that will rival the big players. You're assuming they will always be a wrapper, but Nano Banana Pro shows they can train or at least fine-tune their own competitive models.
Nano Banana Pro is a great name for a fruit stand, but I haven't seen any evidence it's a proprietary foundation model built from scratch. It's likely a fine-tune of Stable Diffusion or Flux. Again, a wrapper.
Even if it is a fine-tune, the results speak for themselves. The authentic skin texture is better than what you get out of the box with others. And let's not forget the director-style cinematic lighting presets. These are tools that teach the user about cinematography. It bridges the gap between a prompt engineer and a director photographer.
It mimics the vocabulary of a director of photography without giving you the control. A DOP knows that if they dolly in, the perspective shifts, but the actor's nose doesn't melt off their face. Higgsfield promises the vocabulary, but delivers a hallucination. And frankly, the user reviews reflect this. You have 5-star reviews from people who love the idea of being a director, and 1-star reviews from people who actually try to use it for production and hit the credit wall or the glitch.
I see those exact same reviews, and I see a product in beta, pushing boundaries. The melted face issues are being addressed with every update. The transition from the spaghetti-eating Will Smith era to the multimodal capabilities of Seedens 2.0 has happened in the blink of an eye. Higgsfield is currently the only platform attempting to give us a full director's workflow storyboard, character consistency, camera control, and editing in one place. For the prosumer who values their time over the raw cost of credits, the utility is undeniable. It is a messy revolution, but it is a revolution.
It is a revolution of middlemen. To summarize my position, Higgsfield is a cautionary tale of marketing over substance. While the UI is undeniably slick, I'll definitely give them that, it is ultimately a cosplay of other people's technology. You are getting Kling and VO in a trench coat charged at a massive premium. The deceptive unlimited plans, the melted faces on simple camera moves, and the hostile attitude toward the artistic community make it, in my view, a monthly subscription to disappointment.
I see why you feel that way, But summarizing my side, I think you are undervaluing the synthesis. For the creator, having Cinema Studio, Popcorn, and eventually Dance 2.0 in one ecosystem solves the fragmentation problem that is stifling AI adoption. It is the only platform offering a coherent director's workflow rather than just a slot machine for video clips. Yes, there is a premium, and yes, the marketing was deeply flawed, but the utility of having a unified studio is the future of this medium.
We will see if the wrapper can survive when the underlying models start offering their own better interfaces. If OpenAI releases a Sora interface with editing tools, Higgsfield is dead in the water.
Video to a place where we are debating lens choices and lighting setups. Whether Higgsfield is the ultimate winner or just a stepping stone, they are defining the feature set that creators are now demanding.
Or they are defining how not to market to the very people you rely on.
A fair point. As we wrap up, it is clear that the landscape of AI video is shifting beneath our feet. From the promise of Dance 2.0 to the controversies of credit burns and marketing missteps, the question remains, are we moving toward a democratized creative future where anyone can direct a blockbuster from their laptop?
Or are we just paying middlemen to automate the soul out of art while we wait in an eternal queue for a video that might just melt right in front of our eyes?
That is for you, the listener, to decide. Thank you for joining us on The Debate.